What's going on, guys? We're back with another episode of The Bird's Nest. I'm Tanner Gilmartin alongside Max Gritzula, and today we're going to be reviewing an Eagles win for the first time this season. The Eagles get the job done in San Francisco. 25-20 was the final score in prime time. Carson Wentz, not too impressive. He went 18 of 28 with a touchdown interception, but it helped that Nick Mullins was on the other side with comparable stats, but an extra interception. Max, what was the difference between this game compared to the other three games that we saw?
I had to start with the turnovers. We were able to force three of them, one fumble and two interceptions, which were in key situations. The pick six obviously late in the game helped. And, Mullins, his poor accuracy also helped on top of that. No Garoppolo for the Niners. And I think the Eagles were able to take advantage of that. And, there was obviously some things to work on going forward and some miscues. But overall, being able to, get a few interceptions, get plus field position for the offense definitely led to, more points, 25 points, which is pretty solid. And the defense has stepped up, played really well.
Yeah, going into this game, of course, there was great concern over Carson Wentz's play. And you saw last night, as I mentioned, 18 of 28, 193 yards, and just a touchdown with his occasional pick that he throws in each game, usually two. Was this enough? To me, it wasn't. Was this enough to sort of start up the bandwagon again to get things going moving forward?
Well, it's definitely a start. I told you last week I'm not ready to get rid of Wentz or bench Wentz. I think it's a start. He made a couple another bad throws as well, a couple bad decisions. Especially early on in the game. I don't know if you realized it, but those out routes by Sanders coming out of the backfield, he just spikes those for some reason. I've seen it multiple times this year where he just throws it into the grass. I don't know if it's not setting his feet, but yeah, he's got to clean up some things. But look, I mean, he did throw 18 and 28, 193 yards and a touchdown. You don't expect him to, light it up against this pretty solid Niners defense that he faced last night. But he's got to just relax with the interceptions. He was able to, keep control of the football, not fumble in this game. And, just limit the turnovers and, always gives you a better shot to win.
Yeah, and going into this game, we knew the injuries that we were dealing with. We found out Jason Peters with that toe injury was not going to play. And then 3 plays in, Lane Johnson, he gets injured. Looks like he's going to play through that ankle injury. But then you see Slay, as I mentioned in the other shows, he just keeps getting injured each game. And then TJ Edwards and Rudy Ford with a hamstring injury. Fletcher Cox was a little banged up, but I think he'll be good moving forward. Depth-wise, you saw Jordan Mailata in there. What concerned you about the depth in this game? Was it the lack of, or was it that we had some, but it was just players that should not be in the game?
I'd probably say the second part there. We had depth, but just guys haven't had many reps. Mailata coming in, like making his first start of his career there. Even Greg Ward, who was the veteran presence out there in the wide receivers, who's only played in like 14 games in his career. So it's definitely concerning. Luckily, Lane Johnson was able to bounce back and get back in the game, step back onto the offensive line to help out. I think the offensive line overall played pretty well for the most part. Mailata actually surprised me. I thought he played better than what I expected. He did have a few penalties there, well, especially that false start, which hurt. I think it was in the second half. But for the most part, they stepped up, played pretty well. And the receivers outside, guys you have never heard of, and they're making plays down the field. Fulcrum, you said, with that long touchdown pass. It was impressive. That's what we're going to need. Deshaun Jackson and Alshon's still banged up and injured. They're not back yet. So these young guys are going to have to step up and keep doing what they're doing if we want to keep winning games.
Yeah, I agree. And the line did well enough for Carson to rush 7 times, 37 yards, and a touchdown. And then on the other side of the ball, you got the defensive line that sacked Nick Mullins 4 times. Now, I liked what we were seeing in the beginning of the game, kind of controlling Nick Mullins. Once again, it's Nick Mullins. It's not Jimmy G or anything like that. But at the end of the game, it was more concerning that C.J. Beathard comes in with 4.5 minutes. He goes down the field and scores just before the 2-minute mark. That's what really concerns me going forward against our future matchups. What do you think about this defense?
Yeah, you mentioned Slay earlier getting hurt. I know he took a helmet to the kneecap early on. I think it was in the first quarter. It might have actually been that hurdle by that Niners player, which was crazy. But yeah, he took a helmet to the kneecap. I mean, it's nothing soft tissue related, so he should be fine. But yeah, I overall, when we look at this team moving forward, uh, you look at the rushing from Sanders last night, and again, he wasn't on the field there late in the game. Doug was asked about it. He said he liked Corey Clement there as a bigger, more physical back, but you saw that didn't work out too well. I just think Sanders, again, I say this every show. I'm trying to buy into his 3-down back mentality, and I haven't seen it yet, man. I'm waiting for that 25 carry, 22 carry game. But that's just not how this team runs. I guess Doug likes to
Yeah.
rotate the backs.
Yeah, no, believe me, you're preaching to the choir over here. I have Sanders on my fantasy team, and I'm sure many other fantasy owners of Sanders, they're sitting back like, can I really trust him to produce at a level? He had 13 rushes for 46 yards, has not found the end zone. And then you mentioned Clement with 2 rushes and just 3 yards. Something you go into this game, you expect it to be more of a run heavy kind of effort from the Eagles. But then we mentioned Travis Fulgham, who gets 2 catches for 57 yards with that beautiful throw from Wentz going into the end zone. And then you have Hightower with 22 yards. And Richard Rodgers, he had 3 catches for 35. But one guy that I want to mention is Zach Ertz, who 4 catches for 9 yards. Now, you look at the other side, the 49ers, and you have George Kittle, 15 catches, 138 yards, and a touchdown. Now, obviously, you look at the Niners and you circle George Kittle. You have him written on the whiteboard, and the whole week leading up to the game, you're studying George Kittle. What happened, and why couldn't we solve that problem?
I think a lot of it was Nick Mullins. He's a backup quarterback. He wants to throw to his best player, and that's why he was peppering George Kittle there with targets and with catches. Kittle's the best tight end in football, in my opinion. I know people are going to argue Travis Kelce, but I think from a skill position overall, I think George Kittle's the best. And, when he gets the ball in open field, he can really carry 2-3 guys before he gets taken down. So when you have a player like that, you're going to definitely use him. And Deebo Samuel was working his way back from injury. Brandon Ayuk's still a rookie, not a big-time threat in that offense yet, but he will be shortly, I'll tell you that. And they were also dumping it off to Jerick McKinnon out of the backfield, who got a lot of those, screen passes out of the backfield, and he was able to break through and get a lot of yardage with those. So overall, it was a great game. Great team win. We needed it, and first place.
Yeah, first place, big deal in the NFC East over here. It's just a competition all the way throughout the season. It's whoever wants it can try to get it at this point. It's crazy how this division's going, and then going back to our play and how inconsistent it is. We mentioned Sanders, and the Eagles went 17 straight plays without Sanders getting 1 carry. That's something concerning going forward. And the Eagles' play towards the end of the game did not impress me, and I think this win is sort of a distraction from what this team really was. And next week, let's just go right into it. We got the Steelers.
Yeah, look, Big Ben looks healthy. Obviously missed all last season with that injury. They're getting extra week of rest, right? Tennessee had the COVID outbreak and did not play this weekend. They were supposed to play the Steelers, and obviously that game got postponed. So, they got a lot of weapons. James Conner, Big Ben, Juju, even Deontay Johnson's been really good for them as the wide receiver number 2. I really think they are going to cause problems. That's why I'm kind of tempering my expectations, especially that defensive front for Pittsburgh. I really think we're not going to be able to run the football as well as we would like to, and that's going to put the ball in Wentz's hands with, lack of talent at the skill position wide receivers. So I think you'll see a big game from Zach Ertz, but ultimately I'm not seeing a win out of this one. I think if they can go on the road back-to-back weeks, beat the Niners, and then fly back across the country and beat the Steelers, I might start buying into it, but I just don't see how they can do it, especially having to come back on travel. And then, again, I know there's no fans, but you play in a second road game back-to-back weeks. It's going to be tough, man. I think Pittsburgh on paper is definitely a playoff team, so it'll be fun to watch, but I just don't see how we can come out of this with a W.
Yeah, going in the Steelers game, I'll just bring up the key matchups that we have. Carson Wentz up against Big Ben. Carson, 97 of 160 overall this season with 930 yards. And Big Ben, 73 of 109 with 777 yards and 7 touchdowns with just 1 interception. During the game, they mentioned how Carson Wentz, the last 3 years, I believe, threw 7 complete overall, 7 interceptions. And this year, he already has 7. So that's concerning moving forward for Carson. But then you have the rushing matchup between Miles Sanders and James Conner. James Conner is, I feel like we can agree James Conner might be a little bit better of a back than Miles
Yeah, I
Sanders.
agree. I agree.
Uh, Miles Sanders 236 yards and James Conner 224. So it's pretty even. James Conner just found the end zone one more time than Sanders. But the key matchup for me is going to be our wide receivers. Are these now they have a name, but the no-name wide receivers that we put in like Travis Fulgham and a familiar name like Greg Ward, how are they going to match up against a Juju Smith-Schuster?
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, when guys are drafted in the fifth, sixth, seventh round, or even undrafted, they only get maybe one shot. So they're trying to prepare every week as if it's their last. And now they finally get an opportunity. We mentioned Mailata finally gets an opportunity with Peters done for a few weeks, maybe longer. And then you get these wide receivers the opportunity, like Fulgham, like you mentioned, with Jackson and Alshon still being out. So, from one perspective, they don't have the talent of a Juju Smith-Schuster, but Juju's going to get every opportunity, even being a higher draft pick from his class. He's going to get every opportunity. I mean, I know he's a superstar, but these other guys for the Eagles, they might only get one shot at it. And if they don't perform, then it's either back to the practice squad or they're going to get cut. So the mentality that they're going into this game with in each week is, I have to perform. And, luckily they were able to last week, and hopefully they are this week. But I think it's going to be more of the defense for the Steelers versus our receivers. Can our receivers create separation and get down the field? So we'll see. I think if you ask me right now, I want to see these guys on the field. I don't. If Djax is healthy, if Alshon's healthy, maybe you throw them in there to give these guys a breather. But you want the young, fresh guys who are out there and make a name for themselves and play aggressive football. You want them on the field to make plays. So I think you got to give them an opportunity as long as they keep playing well.
Yeah, a lot on the line this game, as you mentioned, the players from the practice squad and our defense finally dipped their toes in the turnover water. They got turnovers, and
It's about time, man.
it's going to be an exciting matchup to say the least at Heinz Field at 1 o'clock on Sunday. That wraps up our show for this week, guys, and hopefully we come back with another win with you guys. It's Tanner Gamartin and Max Gritzula. Thanks for tuning in.